Vandeham Sri Guru Sri.
Today's topic is called Prism of Consciousness. Right? We've been talking about the relative plane of living, where we live in this relative world, and there is so much variety. True? There is variety in skin color, variety in hair color, variety of country of origin, variety in species, right? Which species we belong to. Even within species there's so much variety. So we often wonder where this variety comes from and why there is this variety. So it's described, this is from the Bhagavad Gita. So what you have in front of you, I'll explain what that is later. Now don't get distracted by it, because it's a little exciting to read and find out where we are at. We'll look at that later. Okay? For the moment, just don't give it too much attention. Some things to know, that this material nature that we are part of is this relative realm. So I'm going to use these terms interchangeably. Relative realm or material nature. Nature is just not nice green leaves or now colorful leaves, not like that nature, but the whole material atmosphere, material nature that we're part of. Remember we talked about spiritual atmosphere or spiritual nature and relative world or the material nature. So we're going to talk today about the material nature. This material nature is fed by or governed by what are called the three modes of nature. And they are goodness. In Sanskrit it's called sattva. Passion. Not the English sense of passion, but passion, called rajas, and ignorance, called tamas. Very literally, in Sanskrit, tamas means darkness. Raja means dust. And sattva means clean or clear. So, actually, the mode of ignorance means darkness. And in darkness, we don't know anything. We can't understand anything. Our whole interpretation of anything is wrong. Right? So that's what this means. Raja, dust, meaning our interpretation or understanding of some things are inaccurate or incomplete. And sattva means things are clearer. I often give this example. There is so much activity happening outside. True? People are walking by, the leaves are falling, whatever. We are enclosed in this room. If the mode of ignorance is this, we don't know anything about what's going on in the room. Of course, this room has some more light. Just assume it's like pitch dark. Mode of passion is we are in this room and we're busy conducting certain activities. We're talking, we're eating, we're discussing different topics. And mode of goodness is that we're more aware of the world out there. It's a window into reality. Or said differently, it's the mode of ignorance takes us in this direction. If this is the spiritual plane and this is the material plane, The mode of ignorance takes us in this direction. The mode of passion keeps us in this realm. And the mode of goodness helps us move in this direction. Right? So I'll ask you a question that's answer is straightforward. To be able to cultivate a spiritual life, which modes do you think is beneficial? Which of these modes is beneficial? Be confident, because duh. Right. Because the mode of goodness is the window into the spiritual world. You get a sense of what the spiritual world might be from the platform of goodness. For example, like I stand at this window and I get to see what's there. I'm not there, but I get to see, I get a sense of things. That means things are clearer, cleaner. Things are not clear, things are not clean. This is dark. So these three modes of nature, they actually drive and impact or influence our consciousness. Consciousness by itself belongs to the soul. Remember, we talked about the soul is eternal, cognizant, and blissful. Correct? The modes of nature affect our cognizance. And when cognizance is affected, we forget our eternal nature, and we definitely forget blissfulness or bliss. We don't access them anymore. Because this is the one that impacts consciousness, cognizance. For example, the soul, who we are residing in this body. Where is our consciousness? Where do we feel consciousness? In the body? Where in the body?
Heart.
That's it?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay.
Consciousness is all pervading. Even if there is a tiny pinprick on the tip of my finger or the tip of my toe, I'm aware of it. So consciousness is all pervading. Although the soul, according to the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, resides in the region of the heart, it's all pervading. For like, this bulb is here, but the light is all pervading. Now, this lamp emanates white light. Like that, the soul has clear consciousness. Clear consciousness means is aware of these three. That I am eternal, I am cognizant, and I am blissful. This is full awareness. Now, if I were to cover this lamp with a sheet of, let's say, red paper, what happens to the light that comes into this room? Look red. If I put another sheet of paper that's yellow, what color of light comes in? Purple. Red and yellow make it purple. Red and blue make it purple. Sorry, red and yellow make it orange. So I was tricking you. It's not purple, it's orange. If I put a blue sheet on top of that,
White.
not yet.
Green is not there.
Some other color. Depends on the shade, depends on the thickness, all of that. So you see that the lamp, although has pure white light, emanates white light, depending on what filters there are, the room has a different color. So similarly, these three modes of nature, they affect our cognizance or our consciousness, and because of the different degrees of influence, what comes out is variety. Okay? There's another example. There are three primary colors: red, blue, and yellow.
Green.
Green is not
RGB.
Yeah, sorry, what did I say? Red, blue, and
Yellow.
Yellow, sorry, green. Although green is blue and yellow mix. Yes.
If I can just shed a little light, one is for like RGB values,
Yeah.
one is for pigment, or one is for light, one is for pigmentation. So
Whatever.
both, right?
Yellow.
We'll go with red, blue, and yellow. I like it. Okay? Just work with me here. Now, depending upon the different degrees of mixtures, you get different shades of colors. Correct? So, the three modes of nature, depending upon the different degrees of mixtures, says it gives rise to $8,400,000 species in this material realm. According to the Vedas, here we have 8,400,000 species or different forms of life. Aquatics, 900,000. 2 million plant, or sthavara means non-movable, etc., adding up to 8,400,000 species. And within these are unlimited number of living entities. This is the Vedic biological classification of species. So these three modes are differently mixing to this. So we usually give an example. Let's take plants. Okay. In plants, there are plants that are in the mode of ignorance, plants that are in the mode of passion, and plants that are in the mode of goodness. So, you want to guess a plant that's in the mode of ignorance?
Insect-eating plants.
Insect-eating plant. Very good. Do you have any name?
Venus flytrap.
You need help, man. Okay, it's in the mode of ignorance. Anything in the mode of passion? Let's make it easier. Give me a plant that's in the mode of goodness.
Mango.
Tulsi.
Transcendental.
Oh.
Any nicely fragrant flowering plant.
Jasmine.
Okay, fine. You like jasmine? Good jasmine. Like that. This would be just what Edward will use for landscaping. Just good looking, but really has no value. Just trees that are here. Because passion is somewhere in between healthy, flowering, fragrant fire, and something like that. For example. So same with every species of life. And there are these categories of species: aquatics, plants or trees, insects, animals, humans, and birds. All these add up to 8 million. All these species add up to 8,400,000. If you like more technical stuff, 900,000, 2 million. I usually forget this count, so we'll have to. In accounting, there's something called plug. You know what plug is? You add up everything else, and whatever is missing, that's the difference. So, 1.1 million. 400,000. 1,000,000 birds. How much does it add up to? This is 4,
5.4.
5.
7.2.
How you got 7.2?
I thought 5.4.
900 and 400 is 1.3.
400 is 0.4.
5.4.
This is 4, 5, 5, 5.
5.4.
So there is something, I forget this number. It was not 3. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Anyway, right now I'm in the mode of ignorance. Forgetfulness. Anyway, but you get the idea. Unlimited living beings spread into or classified into so many species. A eternal, cognizant, blissful living entity affected by the 3 modes of nature. And these 3 modes affect our consciousness. There has to be some law or rule by which that affects, right? Otherwise it's why am I like this and not like that? Why am I in the body of a human being and not in the body of a cat? Or why am I not in the body of a cactus? What affects this is on the basis of karma. Whatever is our karma, these 3 modes of nature are mixed according to that. For example, you go to a paint store, I want ruby red, and ruby red has a particular code. A fellow punches into the computer so much proportion of red, so much proportion of whatever other ingredient colors, and you get ruby red. So according to my karma, I have to be a human being, born in India, such and such is my whole profile. Karma gives us profile. These 3 modes of nature, according to that profile mix-up, affect my consciousness, and boom, I take birth in the human species. Okay? Make sense so far? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. So, I mean, if karma predetermines your place, I mean, can't you? If you can change.
That is
you
correct.
can change your.
So once you take birth in 8.4 million species of life, then we do something with that, don't we? We act. So if here's the if statement. Here's the 8 million. 8 million means the one except human beings. And this is the human being. So this is non-human. Human being. Right? Non-human beings do not accumulate karma. They only expend whatever karmic stockpile they have, and they move towards the human form of life. Only in the human form of life we actually add more karma. And that comes back to how our consciousness is affected and where we will go. And then slowly progress towards the human form of life, and then again. So it's a perpetual cycle. And you cannot break out of this cycle, because these 3 modes of nature are relentless. They're constantly influencing us. Yeah.
So, if people that are born into less fortunate circumstances,
Correct.
is the point to persist, to become, I guess I'm not understanding why some people are born into less fortunate circumstances and what their purpose is. Is their
Well-
purpose to or like, you know, to achieve consciousness and move up, or I guess I'm.
Every human being has one purpose, is to move from the relative realm to the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
This is the purpose of human life. Now, some people don't care or don't know at all.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't care, and those who care do something about it.
Right.
The question is, regardless of whether I'm born in an unfortunate circumstance, or I'm born handicapped, or I'm born very intelligent, or whatever, I'm to be educated in the purpose of life. And once I'm educated in, or I'm at least provided that opportunity, it's up to me what I do with it. I do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't care, I do nothing about it, or I do something about it. Everyone has the same purpose.
Mm-hmm. Right, I guess
Keep
not
trying.
everyone has the same resource.
Everyone has the same resource because everyone is a conscious living entity.
Okay.
Okay? And in the context of last week's discussion, God, we said Krishna, God,
Mm-hmm.
is accessible to everyone. There's no one that is not accessible to. Everyone.
Right.
Okay. And to access this realm, there is an intermediate layer called teacher or guru. So this is why all the great saints and gurus and teachers, they make it their purpose of life to educate, so that everyone has equal opportunity.
So would I be correct in saying that our resource is us and it's not external?
Well, our resource is us, but you need an external trigger.
Okay.
Like in a log of wood, there is fire, but it is latent. Only when you bring it in contact with fire will the fire from within come out. Otherwise, the wood cannot catch fire. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, full God consciousness is within each and every one of us, every living entity, including the cow, the ass, the ant, the cockroach, the worm. Everyone has full God consciousness available. It just has to meet the right persons for it to awaken.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another piece to it. Even if you come in contact, even if any one of us comes in contact with such persons, it's about what we do with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there is our free will also acting. I can choose to do the opposite, do nothing about it, or do something about it. So where we start in this human form of life, where we start depends upon our karma, unfortunately. But who's responsible for our karma? We are. It's something we have done in our previous life. It's not random that someone is born in a poor family or a rich family or born handicapped. It's not someone else's responsibility, it's our responsibility. We have done something in our previous lives.
So does it matter for us to know what we've done?
Well, how will we know?
I don't know.
It's not possible to know because it's not just the previous lives, it is a continuum of lifetimes after lifetimes. Karma keeps accumulating and it's never possible to know. One some of the common example is let's say I've contracted malaria and the disease has certain symptoms. Now that I have this disease, what's my first order of business?
Treatment.
Try to treat it, get medicine. Or would I say, let me see, let me find out which of those mosquitoes bit me?
Well,
How much blood did the mosquito draw? I can't get to it, I wouldn't know.
well, isn't it important for us to address our past? So
That's
that we
correct.
can-
So how to address the past is we might not know how many lifetimes ago I did something for which in this life I'm getting something here.
Mhm.
So the only way to resolve that, in one sense, is if I know which mode of nature I'm being influenced by,
Okay.
so that I can move towards goodness. If I don't know this is the tiebreaker every time. Because going back into our past is impossible. But we can tell what mode of nature we're being influenced by, in general and at every moment of our lives. That's the sheet in front of us. To help us know, what do I sort of look like? Although I'm in a human body, I'm being influenced by these modes of nature. So before you look into the paper, I'm building it up, so we'll get to that. So this is the karmic cycle of how things work. Now these three modes of nature don't just influence us to get a body, but they're constantly influencing us. So we might feel one way at 8 o'clock in the morning. By the time it's 12 noon, we might feel completely different about the whole situation. And by the time it is 6 o'clock, whole different perspective on things. At 6:30, we'll have a completely different perspective as well, because it's so dynamic. That means it's a constantly influenced, our consciousness is being affected by it. And I'm sure if I were to give you an exercise, think of certain situations and think of how you feel or how you felt as time went by, you will notice we feel very different. Suppose I'm having a very good day, whatever that means, okay? And someone says to me something nasty. On that day I might say, how does it matter? Suppose I got up with bad hair. Is it called bad hair day? I leave the house with a bad hair day. I got a bad hair day. Someone even says something remotely, slightly nice, but really not that nice. We might get very affected by that. Why do you call me like that? It all depends on what mode of nature we're being influenced by. And what decides what mode of nature we get influenced by is how we are using our free will at that moment. Okay? Now, in most cases, we let our free will go to sleep. We give ourselves completely to these three modes of nature. So they push and kick us around like anything, which is all of us. The idea of spiritual practice or spiritual life is to awaken our free will, to say, I'm not going to be influenced by the mode of ignorance right now, because the situation calls for mode of ignorance. I'm not going to do it. For example, there's a story. There are many situations like this. We did Anatomy of Anger many years ago, and when we did Anatomy of Anger, it was a 2-hour presentation, and from the get-go, for the next 2 hours, we laughed like anything. It was a non-stop laughter thing. Although the topic was anger, it was a serious topic. We were laughing. And we were discussing different examples of how people manifest anger. So I'm not going to narrate those stories, but one story. There was a mother who had a newborn. The baby was about 2 months old. And the baby was crying and crying and crying. And the mother told the baby to shut up, but the baby didn't listen. So she went crying and crying. Then the mother slapped the baby to shut up, but the baby wouldn't listen. So finally she got so upset that she put the baby in the microwave and turned it on and killed the baby. She was not thinking of killing the baby, she was wanting to punish the baby. What mode of nature do you think she was affected by?
Crazy.
It's called the mode of ignorance. Anger. When we become angry, we are beginning to get influenced by the mode of ignorance. Because what happens when we are angry?
Lose control.
We lose control. What else?
You stop thinking.
We stop thinking.
Yeah.
That we generally do even every time. We stop thinking.
Whatever comes in the mind, we just do it.
That is correct. We forget. We forget who we are angry with. It may be our best friend, our parent, our children, our brothers or sisters, or whoever. We don't care. When we are angry, that's it. We forget. And one of the features of mode of ignorance is forgetfulness. We forget. We don't care. We even say the most hurtful things to people that we love very much or we care for. That's the mode of ignorance. So, another aspect of mode of ignorance is sleep. When things become very stressful, people go to sleep. Oh, I don't want to face this situation. Can I go to sleep, please? Or there's a situation, I don't want to face this situation. Can I hide somewhere? Can I not pick up someone's phone call? I don't want to. That's the mode of ignorance. Sleep, laziness, indolence, defeatist attitude, etc. These are all mode of ignorance. Then there is mode of passion. Everything that's done with a selfish motive. That's the mode of passion. It's the WIIFM model. What's in it for me? It doesn't matter what you ask somebody to do, they think, what's in it for me? That's what drives them. Selfish. In all sorts of ways, selfish. In some cases, very overtly selfish, and in some cases, very covertly selfish, but selfish nevertheless. Like people give in charity. That's a common example. The charity, here's an example here in one of the sheets, in the sheet. Charity in the mode of ignorance, meaning I don't know who I should give charity to. Suppose someone's collecting money for something really ignorant. Let's say someone's collecting money to start a bar. And I donate to that. Yeah, it's great. I think we should have a bar here. That's charity in the mode of ignorance. Because what alcohol does to someone is take them into ignorance. And I'm contributing to it. Charity in the mode of passion is, well, not only am I contributing, I would like my name exhibited or flashed, or everyone should know that I donated that money. That's one of the aspects of charity in the mode of passion. Charity in the mode of goodness is I donate, not for the bar, but let's say I donate. Even if I donated for the bar, let's say. But I'm doing it because I don't want my name there, but it makes me feel good. It's nice. I have money, they don't, and I should give. This is goodness. This is not spiritual, this is goodness. Now the modes of nature are constantly mixed. So it is some goodness, but mixed with a heavy amount of ignorance because I'm contributing to a bar. Get my point? How these modes of nature are mixed? And this is what we call conditioned life. These three modes of nature, they kick us around like anything, and we just follow. They kick us like anything. And this is our conditioned life. From one situation to another situation, from one situation to another situation. In fact, we feel so helpless, we don't know what to do. Some situation comes, and boom, we're influenced by the modes of nature, and wow, we react in this way or that way or the other way. This is our pathetic situation in the material realm. And this is called suffering. Right? Where the saintly person say humanity is suffering, this is suffering. That we don't have any ability to overcome the three modes of nature. No one can overcome this. There is no person except one type of, one category of. Otherwise, all the aquatics, the plants, the animals, the birds, the insects, and the humans and the animals, they're all subjected to helplessness, being influenced by the three modes of nature. Except for a person who chooses in every situation to come to the spiritual mode. Spiritual mode means God-centered, that our thinking, feeling, willing, acting, choices, etc. are all God-centered. For such a person, these three modes of nature don't act. So for whatever situation we are in, whatever considerations we have to make, if that's not God-centered, it will be one of these three. And most likely it will be one of these two. And highly likely that it will be this. Because in Kali Yuga, very few people, very few. I'll explain what is Kali Yuga. Make a choice in the mode of goodness. Very few. Because this goodness is always mixed with passion and ignorance. Passion is always mixed with goodness and ignorance. And ignorance is mixed with these two. But in Kali Yuga, this is so intense that if we don't make God-centered choices, we will make ignorance-centered choices. Tamasic. And tamas brings us down. Down means, you see, this from human form of life, our karma decides what the next form of life. Down means from human, we come down here. This is called zombie life in one sense, because you cannot make choices. A tiger does not make a choice that today I let the antelope go. It's a good day. It's all right. Today I'll starve, I'll fast. I'll abstain from antelope. Cannot make that choice. A dog cannot say, today I choose to not chew on the bone. There's a bone, has to chew. Only the human being can say, today I will not chew on the bone. Literally, that's. So choice is powerful. It's what helps us live life. And that's available in the human form of life. But if you don't do something about it, we either go down, descend into other species of life, or remain in the human species of life. It's not a great situation. Or ascend to the spiritual realm. That's the purpose of life. So to know how these modes influence is important. And there are many, many aspects in our life that are influenced by the modes of nature. So, for example, I'm not going to go through every one of them. This is for you. You can read it, put it on your refrigerator if you like, and see which mode of nature is affecting you at that particular moment. But these are general things. I'm going to read a few, or maybe I'm going to ask you to read. Okay. Can someone read row 2, food in the different modes of nature? Yeah, I mean, read loudly, please.
Mode of goodness. Increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. Mode of passion.
So hold on. Example of foods that are fitting this category?
Fish nuts.
That is true. Okay. First let's read the 3 and then we'll pick foods that are in there. That was a great setup. Go ahead.
Mode of passion. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Mode of ignorance. Foods that are prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness.
Okay. You want to guess what fits the food in the mode of ignorance?
Frozen.
Frozen. Okay.
7-Eleven.
That's correct.
7-Eleven.
Meat. Why is meat? Because it is
Dark
fast decaying and putrid. It's the remnant of another living thing.
Yeah.
Foods that are in the mode of passion. I was going to say South Indian.
I don't know, maybe like
Or the
really
spicy.
sour candies.
Doritos,
Yeah.
chilies, excessive, too dry. People like Doritos. Yeah, me too. But I'm in the mode of passion. That's clear for me. And these foods cause distress, misery, and disease. I'll tell you about a food that one of my, I can't say friends, but he's definitely not my friend, an acquaintance. Apparently, in a Japanese restaurant, there is a particular type of fish that you have to swallow in a alcoholic beverage. And when you swallow that in the alcoholic beverage, it gives you a particular kind of high that is really exotic apparently. However, there is a little danger. In that fish, there is either a bone or nerve or something that is highly toxic. And it requires a very special culinary person, a chef, to be able to remove that before it can be swallowed. And this person had that drink where that was not properly removed. The side effect of that is that it makes a person's lungs collapse. They cannot breathe. That's the effect of that fish in their system. And because he wanted that drink, he had it, and he couldn't breathe after that. He had to go to the hospital. So this is the example of food that causes distress and misery. Is for that moment of enjoyment, a lot of suffering later.
Why 3 hours in the
Why
prepared-
3 hours? Because after 3 hours, food starts decaying. So it's for it to be fresh, really,
Mhm.
has to be within 3 hours of preparation. Okay, someone can read Charity 5.
Charity in the mode of goodness.
Loudly, please.
In the mode of goodness, charity is given out of duty, without expectation of return, at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person. In the mode of passion, it is given with the expectation of some return, or with a desire for fruitive results, or in a grudging mood. In
Anyone given charity in a grudging mood? Okay.
In the mode of ignorance, it is given at an impure place, at an improper time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect.
So when charity is given without respect to whom we're giving, it's in a mode of ignorance. Okay, can someone read 4? Leela Krishna, read 4.
Austerity of body, speech and mind.
Loudly, please. I know it's before lunch, but come on.
Austerity of body, speech and mind. Mode of goodness. Performed with transcendental faith by men, not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of supreme. Mode of passion. Performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor and worship. Mode of ignorance. Performed out of foolishness, with self-torture or to destroy or injure others.
You know examples?
David Blaine.
Whoa, hold on. Austerity of the body, speech, or mind. So, example of austerity in the mode of ignorance, performed out of foolishness with self-torture to destroy or injure others.
David Blaine.
David?
Blade, I think his name is. He like does weird things, puts himself in ice for like so many hours, starves himself for a month. It's like a magician person.
So it's a mixture of ignorance and passion. Huh?
I was just saying, he's called an illusionist. He likes to call himself that.
Illusion.
Well, he definitely is an illusion, no doubt. It's a mixture of passion and ignorance, because that austerity is super self-torture, whatever, and it's done out of pride or for gaining respect and honor. People should think of what a great guy this guy is.
I've seen things like walking on coal,
Walking on
burning coal.
Yeah, that's in the ignorance. There are some persons who are very austere, who, let's say, take on the walk or run long miles for honor and respect. Okay? Austerity of body and goodness. Meditation. To sit down in a place, it's not easy. Back hurts, legs hurt. But it's done because there's of course, now we have to question why people do meditation. But assuming that meditation is done because they want to really cultivate their spirituality, then that's the proper austerity. Or fasting. On certain important holy days, people fast. That's austerity in the mode of goodness. Okay. Can someone read happiness 12, please? Avela? Oh, you would like to read? Go ahead.
Happiness in the mode of goodness.
Loudly.
Yeah. In the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization. In the mode of passion, happiness is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end. Happiness in the mode of ignorance is blind of self-realizations, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion.
Beautiful, huh? So what is the happiness that arises from mode of ignorance? What activity? Sleeping. I love to sleep. I'm looking forward to the weekend just so that I can
Sleep.
That is happiness in the mode of ignorance. Happiness in the mode of passion, what's the characteristic? It's nectar in the beginning and distress in the end. Drinking feels great, feels really fun, called happy hour, and then you have many distressed hours after that. That's happiness in the mode of passion. Happiness in the mode of goodness?
Doing hard work.
Sorry, disagree. Hard work is coming up. I'm going to read. I should have made you read item 9. Happiness in the mode of goodness is in those things that in the beginning seem little, but in the long term give happiness, nectar, like abstinence. Like that. Okay. Can someone for him read 9, please? Our hard work hero.
Worker, performer.
No, maybe there's a full realization in it. Go ahead.
Worker, performer for mode of goodness, performs his duty with association with the modes.
Without association. Man, you
Oh, sorry.
truly.
Yeah. Performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure.
Oops. Okay. Mode of passion.
Worker and performer in mode of passion is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow. Worker and performer in modes of ignorance is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating.
Beautiful. This is Krishna's words. Krishna is describing this in chapter 17 of 18 of Bhagavad Gita. This is how we understand if we are how we are working. So I'll explain a little bit because this is important. We are students and we like to work and we are the champions of hard work. So first of all, work in the mode of ignorance is always engaged in work against the injunctions of scripture. Meaning doing things whimsically without knowing what is to be done, what is not to be done. Who are materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others. Cheating. So working very hard to cheat someone. That's work in the mode of ignorance. Used car salesman, for example. I'm kidding, but you get the idea. What are the two most difficult things to buy in America? House and car. There's something else as well.
Sun cleaner.
Really? Insurance. Insurance. And you know how insurance salesmen are? Have you ever interacted with an insurance salesman?
They are just buttering,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very. All the time. Oh, this is the best one. Car salesman? Anyone bought a car? Of course, you don't have money, my friend. When you do get money, or if you do get money. And nothing against car salesmen. I'm just, it's a little stereotype, but you get the idea. Okay. In the mode of passion, work that is performed with great effort, is attached to work and the fruits of work. Anyone not attached to the fruits of work? What is the fruit of work?
Salary.
Profit, money, name, encouragement, title, gold medal, all that. In fact, everyone does for the fruit of work. Desiring to enjoy those fruits. And who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow. Moved by joy and sorrow means when they win, they're like, yeah. And when they lose, they're like, oh. This is the dramatic expression, but I didn't get that. My friend may have done better than me, but I'm envious because how could they do? When I was doing my graduate study at Oklahoma State, I was very good friends with one person. His name was Azad. He was from Pakistan. He and I were very, very good friends. Except on the day when India and Pakistan were playing cricket. We didn't even see each other that day. We didn't even talk to each other that day. It's just too much of conflict of interest. It's like too much pulling on different directions. So we decided we don't talk to each other. The next day we'd be great friends again. And a worker performing the mode of goodness performs his duty without the association of the modes of nature. Here. Without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, working very much enthusiastically, with full determination, without any expectation of the result. Ooh, that's cool. That's really cool. And that's cool because we can get there so easily. It takes a lot to work in the mode of goodness. So, question for you. Is it possible that my faith is in the mode of ignorance, but my eating habits are in the mode of passion? That my action will be in the mode of goodness? No. Why not? Ashwita, why not? It's possible. Really? It's not possible. It's not possible because each of these are somehow interconnected and interrelated. It's not possible that I can eat in the mode of goodness and perform activity in the mode of ignorance. It's not possible. They're all connected.
A question. So, can I ask now?
You can ask now, but I'm not going to answer now. I'm still finishing up a sentence. Each of these is interacts with another. Somehow I keep falling back into statistics. Anyone here done a multivariate analysis? No? No one done a multivariate analysis? Really? Okay. You know what's a multivariate analysis? One dependent variable and many independent variables.
Regression.
Huh?
Regression.
Regression, right? Regression is a method by which you measure things. So in that, we say y is a function of x1, x2, x3, x4. And generally when x1 changes, y changes by some function. Correct? x2 changes, then y changes by that function of x2. But in statistics, in a multivariate analysis, while x1 and x2 are changing, there is also some interaction between x1 and x2. That is called multivariate interaction. So like that, here what is the dependent variable is our consciousness. And in one sense all these are independent variables. And one affects the other two. If my life in general is in the mode of goodness, I will eat in the mode of goodness, I will act in the mode of goodness, I will give charity in the mode of goodness, etc. Just done first. Okay? They are interconnected. Now, goodness in general is mixed with passion and ignorance. And one is mixed with the other two. So you might see certain semblances of mixture of movement. It's not that one is purely in ignorance, purely in passion, purely in goodness. So in that sense there is some movement from one to another. But in general, we all skew towards passion and ignorance. Very rarely we might skew a little into goodness. Even if we skew into goodness, it doesn't stay. We come back to passion and ignorance.
I was just thinking that from the time we wake up to sleep,
Correct.
we do a million activities.
Correct.
So it becomes too complicated if we have to analyze it like this.
Correct.
So is there a rule of thumb
That's
or
right.
something?
You just live in the mode of goodness and all activities will become in the mode of goodness.
That is the thing. So is there some few set of rules which define the mood of goodness?
Yes. We'll get to that. Good question.
I was thinking, in terms of Ashwita Bhattacharya's question, Hitler, for example, I've heard that he was a vegetarian, so his eating was in the mode of goodness, but his actions obviously was in the mode of ignorance.
That is correct.
So you said that if
Just because one is eating vegetarian, it does not necessarily mean that is goodness. He could be eating a lot of frozen vegetarian food. That is influenced by ignorance. So, just one doesn't mean everything else, but it also doesn't mean that. That was my question: is it because if I'm eating this, working like this, will my activities be in the goodness? It's not necessary. And it's not that all our activities will be in ignorance. It's a big mixture. So I was just like, how do I understand all this? I don't want to get too analytical. So yes, there are certain qualities of goodness that, sorry, you didn't finish.
I had a second question. In the work performer under mode of goodness, it says performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature.
Yeah.
But it's under mode of goodness. So how is it possible to not be associated with modes of material nature?
That means he tries to work in goodness that is free from passion and ignorance.
But goodness is also part of modes of
That is alright. That is alright. Out of the heavy mixture, you cannot work outside of the modes of nature within the material realm unless you are operating on a transcendental platform. This is not transcendence. This is still goodness. That means minimized on passion and ignorance, mostly goodness. Then the effect of the modes of nature is minimized. Still goodness, but highly minimized. Yeah.
So then if we're mostly in the mode of goodness, would it become easier then to come into Krishna consciousness?
That is correct. It's the window. However, we're still at the window, we're not there. Because the mode of goodness also binds us to this material world. The binding feature is happiness that comes from being in the mode of goodness. From the knowledge that comes from being in the mode of goodness. One is attracted to that happiness and one is attracted to that knowledge. The pursuit of knowledge or the pursuit of happiness that binds us in the mode of goodness. Yeah. Do you want to serve lunch so that we can move? Yes,
Only in the human form of life we are accumulating karma.
that is correct.
So is this the use of free will which makes that, or because of the previous karma we are missing out?
No. It is our free will is what we're making choices by. Our free will is conditioned by previous karma. That is why we need intervention by persons in the transcendental or spiritual consciousness to pull us out, to train our free will. So we make the proper free will choices. Otherwise we are operating on a conditioned free will.
If we make our free will in a right mode, then our accumulation of karma will be.
Stop. That's part 2.
Or
Yeah,
one
good.
more thing is the previous karma makes us to misuse of free will.
The previous karma puts us in a body in which, and the modes of nature in which our full ability to act is curbed. Suppose I do something by which I have to be in a tree body. What free will I manifest?
No, I'm asking the same human.
Oh, human being. Okay. And in the human, similar, even in the human form, our free will is affected by the modes of nature. And previous karma affects it, yes.
Previous karma affects our free will.
Yeah, of course.
Whether we are using it in right way or wrong way.
That's correct.
So free will and karma interrelate.
Absolutely.
Question.
Yes.
If we want to be in the goodness mode, but the environment doesn't allow us, in a situation we are forced to not to go in a goodness, what is the solution? Like, for example, we want to eat fresh vegetables, but the availability is only the frozen vegetables, in a situation.
That situation is hypothetical because that's not a true situation.
And
Okay.
maybe.
So since you're giving a hypothetical question, I'll give you a hypothetical answer. Still,
Okay, yeah.
you can
Yeah.
still
Mhm.
you can still find mode of goodness fresh. If the situation is really like that, then it's like that. But here, what we're talking about is the consciousness being affected. And consciousness gets affected by circumstance, by our choices, and all of that. So if we can keep our consciousness without being affected, then we've done a good job. It doesn't work usually like that. You like this topic? Is it interesting? Yeah. The whole of karma is connected to this. Yes.
For example, out of 12 qualities, if a person have like 10 qualities that falls under modes of goodness and a couple into modes of passion, so is it like his mind would be so developed already that it will switch from the two quality will vanish and it will automatically switch from passion to goodness, or the two qualities will encourage him to use all the qualities?
Well, nothing happens automatically. It depends on what he does about it. He may be aware that among all this, those are areas of improvement for me. But if he doesn't improve that, then they degrade from passion to ignorance. Oh, by the way, it's also the time of day, situation that are full of modes of nature. They affect how we interact. I may have 10 out of 12 in the mode of goodness at 6 o'clock in the morning. At 6:05, it could sit completely the other side. Because the modes of nature are very dynamic, constantly.
The reason why I'd asked that question, whether there's a rule of thumb, is if you are in the mode of ignorance or something, then the way you view your own activities also will be flawed.
That is correct.
So your classification itself, you won't be able to do it faithfully.
That is correct. Ignorance is such a situation, unfortunately. That's correct. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.